This PowerPoint covers APA Format 7th edition. Be aware that this is only a starting point for students. It's important to purchase the manual for yourself in order to know all the possible rules for different media formats. What is APA style? It's created and maintained by the American Psychological Association, and it is a format for writing and documenting academic papers in the social sciences. The 7th edition was released in 2019 and is typically used by the College of Business, Psychology and Social Work, Education, and Criminal Justice. So why should we use APA format? First of all, to allow those who read your paper to access the information. Your professor really does want to see your sources. We also want to give credit to the original writers for their ideas. It provides uniform guidelines for academic papers. This shows respect for your professor who is grading multiple papers for multiple classes. Also, you want to protect yourself from plagiarism. No one wants to be known for cheating, and plagiarism is a form of cheating. Respect yourself and don't commit plagiarism. So where do you find more information about APA format? The library has a great website link. The URL is here. Please buy the APA manual. It will save you so much stress and energy. There is the APA blog, which is created by the American Psychological Association, and it's very helpful for the 7th edition. And the online writing lab at Purdue has also created materials for the 7th edition of APA. There are only 3 page types for undergraduate students. Upper level and graduate students may be required to do the 4th page type, which is the abstract page. See the manual for more details if you need to create an abstract page. We will be focusing today on the title page, text page, and the references page. Here is an example of the title page for a student paper. Notice that there is no longer a running head across the top. You only need a page number. You put the title of the paper, the author, which is you, the affiliation, which would be the department, the course, the instructor, and the due date. This is on a separate page. Now, how do we capitalize in APA? This can get confusing. During this presentation, you may hear me talk about sentence case. This is capitalizing the first word of the title or heading. It's also capitalizing any proper nouns that appear in the title. Title case, however, capitalizes all words of 4 letters or more unless they start a sentence. We'll see more examples of this as we go along. Here's an example of the text page. The paper title is repeated at the top. Everything should be double line spaced with 1-inch margins, 1 space after every punctuation mark that ends a sentence. The text page starts on a new page after the title page. The title of the paper is on the first line, centered and bold, and in title case. 1-inch margins, left aligned, and double line spacing throughout the text. The first line of each paragraph is indented by 1 tab key. When it comes to making the references page, we want to make sure that we start it on a separate piece of paper after the last text page. List your sources alphabetically by the author's last name. Indent all entry lines except the first line. This is known as a hanging indent, and we'll see an example of that in just a minute. As we continue through this presentation, remember that there are 2 types of citations. The smaller one is the in-text or parenthetical citation. The larger citation is the reference page citation, sometimes called a bibliography. You cannot do the in-text citations until you do the reference page, so it's very important to get the reference page right. References provide the information necessary for readers to identify and retrieve each work cited in the text. A reference list entry generally has 4 elements: the author, date, title, and source. Each element answers a question. For the author, who is responsible for this work? The date, when was this work published? The title, what is this work called? And the source, where can I retrieve this work? The basic principles of reference list entries are covered in sections 9.4 to 9.6 of the APA Publication Manual 7th edition. The following figure shows the first page of a journal article. The locations of the reference elements are highlighted with different colors and callouts, and the same colors are used in the reference list entry to show how the entry corresponds to the source. Here is a sample reference page. References should be centered 2 lines below the abbreviated title. Here is a sample reference page. Notice that we have examples of a book reference, a report reference, and a journal article reference. Notice the hanging indent where the second and third line are tabbed over. Here is an example reference page citation for a journal article that has a DOI. Notice that we have Macaulay for the last name, S period M period for the first and middle initials. Instead of using the word and, we put the and symbol or the ampersand between the 2 authors. Christensen, comma, M period H period is the second author. The year, as I said earlier, goes right next to the author. These 2 cannot be separated. It's like they're married. 2019 goes in parentheses with the period outside the parentheses. Language learning as language use, a cross-linguistic model of child language development. Notice that this is using sentence case capitalization, so the L in language is capitalized because it's the first word. After the colon, whatever letter comes next is capitalized. So A is capitalized, even though ordinarily in sentence case we would not capitalize it. After the title of the article, put a period. Notice the title of the journal. It uses title case, so all the big words start with a capital letter. Psychological Review is italicized, comma, and then the volume number 126 is also italicized. However, the issue number, which is in the parentheses, is not italicized and a comma comes after the parentheses. The page numbers are 1 through 51, period at the end of 51. Then we have the URL, which contains the DOI. Notice that the format is doi.org/ and then the DOI number. Do not put any punctuation after the URL or the DOI because it will interfere with the hyperlink. In your paper, to put the in-text or parenthetical citation, we would put Macaulay, ampersand, Christensen, comma, 2019. Here's an example of a journal article without a DOI. We start again, as always, with the author's last name, comma, first initial period. Then the year, in parentheses, period outside the parentheses. Getting consistent with consequences is sentence case and not italicized. Educational leadership is title case capitalized, and it's also in italics. The volume number 76 is in italics. The issue number 1 is not in italics. The page numbers are not in italics, period after the page numbers. Then you would put the URL that will take your reader to the article. This can be hyperlinked or not. It's up to you. There's no penalty either way. The parenthetical or in-text citation is Anderson, 2018. Journal articles with 21 or more authors are lots of fun. When there are 21 or more authors, include the first 19 authors' names. Then insert an ellipses, which is 3 periods, and then add the final author's name. The parenthetical citation is Kalnay et al. Notice the period and then comma after all, 1996. So just what is the DOI? It stands for Digital Object Identifier. The idea behind a DOI is that any digital object, whether it's a journal article, a graphic, or an icon, would have its own number, almost like an address. so that by clicking on it or entering it in a Google search, we would be taken right to that article. It's important that you make sure that your link follows the correct format. For APA 7, you have to have doi.org/ and then the DOI number. Do not allow the URL to have DX in front of DOI. Some online citation machines may do this, but you need to correct it. The DX is not appropriate in APA 7. Here is a magazine article. It mostly follows the same format as a journal article, but notice that the date is different. Magazines usually come out more frequently than a journal article would, so we put the entire date. In this case, our author is Bergson, S. It's 2019, January, which is spelled out. 4 is the day that it came out. Then we have the title of the article, the title of the journal, which is Science. 363 is the volume number. 6422 is the issue number, the page numbers, and then the URL or DOI number. Notice that the parenthetical citation is Bergson 2019. All right, finally, if it's a library database with no DOI, you may still want to put the URL. Ask your professor about this. Notice that in this case we have 4 authors: Amen, Tuttle, Saviat, and Wright. The date is 2018. The title, notice that there is a colon, so the I for implications is capitalized. Journal of Post-Secondary Education and Disability is italicized and uses title case. 31 is the volume number, which is italicized. Issue 1 is not italicized, and the page numbers. Notice the period after the page numbers. Then there is a URL to help your professor get to the article. Most professors appreciate this. The parenthetical citation is just Amen et al. 2018 because there are 4 or more authors. Now we're going to shift gears. Let's talk about those in-text citations. A general in-text citation only has 3 types of information: the author's last year, the year of publication, and remember, they're married, they always go together, and then the page numbers if you have a direct quote or you are paraphrasing a sentence. And let me just remind you to please be careful with paraphrasing. If you need more help, please contact the writing instructors at the Cannon Memorial Library. Here is an example of a parenthetical and a narrative in-text citation. In the first part, we see the reference list entry. Alexander P.A. is the author and is in purple. The year is 2018 and in blue. The title of the article is in yellow. The title of the journal and all of the source information is green. In a parenthetical citation, the author and the year and the page number, if necessary, are included inside the parentheses. However, if you are using a narrative citation, you may have the author's last name in your sentence, but because the author and the year are married, the 2018 in parentheses goes smack in the middle of your sentence right next to the author. The in-text citations that correspond to this reference include the last name of the author and the year of publication, which matches the information in the reference list entry. This is how your reader finds all the information on the references page. Let's look at some in-text examples. In this case, we're using direct quotes. Here is a parenthetical citation. A traumatic response frequently entails we have quotations for the direct quote, delayed, uncontrolled, repetitive appearance of hallucinations and other intrusive phenomenon, end quotation marks. Then in parentheses, we have the author, Carruth, 1996, P period to indicate that it's one page and it's on page 11. Now, keep in mind that 1996 is probably too old to be used in a paper. It just makes a good example. Here is a look at a citation that is a narrative example. Here, the writer starts with the author's name as part of the sentence, but the date is right next to the author. Carruth, 1996, states that a traumatic response frequently entails a quotation mark, delayed, uncontrolled, repetitive appearance of hallucinations and other intrusive phenomenon, and the quotation marks. Because we've already given the author and the year, the only part that's still left is what page it's on because it's a direct quote. So we put the single P period 11, and notice that the period for the sentence goes on the outside of the parentheses. This is a figure of basic in-text citation styles depending on whether you have 1, 2, 3, or more authors. There's also information about group authors with abbreviations. This is inside the manual, and again, I recommend that you get the manual for yourself. This PowerPoint cannot possibly answer all questions. So where can you go to get more help? You can always call me or email me at the Cannon Memorial Library. I'm happy to help you. We also have a writing and research page. I recommend that you visit this page not just for APA, but also to make appointments with our writing instructors. They're happy to go over your paper with you and help you improve your writing. The APA Style blog has all the rules, just not in an easy-to-use format, so again, I recommend the manual. The online writing lab at Purdue has also updated their website, but be careful to not mix information about APA 6 with APA 7. I hope that this presentation has been helpful and helped you learn the basics of APA 7. If you need further help or have questions, please contact us at the Cannon Memorial Library.